Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Official, the Unofficial desk, bringing you coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Playoffs. Round 2, Match 2, Game number 4 is upon us, gentlemen. Host Alex, always known sexy by Muscle, and of course I'm joined by the illustrious Hapgood brother duo, that is Initialize and Nymera. Coming into Game 4, gentlemen. What do we expect to see from CGA this time round? Because DFM haven't changed much from what they started doing at the beginning of this summer split. And I'm concerned that CGA aren't really finding a response to them.
What they need to do, and I think they will want to do, is break the back of DFM's early river control, because it meant that Unica could get nothing done in any lane. Part of that was lane matchups. DFM's lanes got to play out stably, and they had everybody shoved under tower. Part of that was Olaf basically just wandering up and down the river, just there as a battle ward. But much like in Game 2, I think CJ need to try and find an early jungle path, or just a contest vision a little bit harder early on, or they're going to find this happening more than once.
And just adding on to that, I think the thing about the battle warding there is something which DFM have not really changed massively the style of what they're playing. The Nico's kind of new, and obviously Caitlyn 1016, that's newish, right?
That's meta also.
Not compared to the world,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen DFM play it to Fox. It's been banned so much, right? I think what DFM are doing much better than they did in the regular season is immediately calculating whether they can go and steal a jungle camp, clear a ward, walk this certain way. And they're actually making the correct calculation on that. CGA have been very good at preying on other teams when they do that and they fail. DFM not showing so many openings in that kind of department, because we know, I mean, the way I've been saying it, CJ take the fights when they present themselves. DFM are not presenting easy fights, or at least not easy enough for them to start winning these games consistently.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I mean, jungle pressure does seem to be a lot. The river control is horrendously important at the moment. I mean, DetonatioN FocusMe were able to secure first Dragon, first Rift Herald. On the opposite side, when Crest Gaming Act were able to win their game, they had objective control.
Big time.
Where do we go, though, with these junglers? Because Steel and Unica seem to be having so much pressure around the decision of how these games go. Bot lane ganks have decided, arguably, the last 3 games.
I agree.
And yes, Unica has had some good, had a brilliant game in Game 2, along with Grendel on that Blitzcrank. But then you could argue the same with Gang and Steel for Game 1 and 3, really, right?
Yeah, you absolutely could. And again, junglers do kind of end up as a bit of a litmus test for how the team is doing. If a jungler's died a lot, it tends to mean that the map's kind of out of your control, or ganks have gone really wrong is the other thing that tends to mean. And honestly, the early game was quiet, and that was problematic for CGA because the lanes just got to do what the hell they liked.
It was quiet against their better efforts.
True, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like they weren't trying to apply pressure. They were trying to find some way into this game. The problem is, the pathing of DFM was just so aware of what CGA was trying to do and just prevented them from ever coming into any of the objectives. They had vision. They had vision. But gentlemen,
got eyes on draft.
We've got, pick and ban phase is up and running. Would you do me the pleasure of Initialize and taking it away?
Thank you so much, Mass Swan. We're here with DFM at match point for Game 4 of this round 2 playoffs between DFM and CJ. This could be our last game of the day. DFM win it. Nymera here is going to have got himself a very correct prediction. If CGA win it, we get the Game 5 and some scraping silver for sure. Bans coming out, and once again, it's DFM on blue, CGA on red, and I'm seeing a lot of familiar bans out here.
Okay, so CGA, last time they did let through the Caitlyn, didn't work out for them, because DFM had that early ward into river to stop Unica from upsetting that lane once more. He didn't end up getting around that vision. There are some paths you can do to take that.
Yeah.
You can try and skirt around the outside of the red buff, go through the upper part of the river instead of running straight down through the bottom part. But CJ have not found this correct jungle path. I know you were talking about saying, hey, CJ need to sort out an impactful early jungle path for Unica. That's something which Blank has been very famous for in the past. CJ is changing up their bans again, this time banning away the Nidalee, which I know even we were on the VCS the other day, in fact, just on the analyst desk, we went through the pick and bans there. Nidalee was the first pick for a couple of those teams. It's a very strong power jungler, What is Unicog wanting to pick that he doesn't want to play into Nidalee?
What it also means is Renekton's up for nap is the other thing it means. So I wonder whether this is another option where saying, actually, it's the Nidalee strong, but it breaks the Renekton-Nidalee combo, and they get to pick Renekton here for nap. He's a very good player that plays it weak side super well, and it's more lane pressure because Ebby kind of had him under his tower the entire game last time out on weak side.
Do you pick in the Trundle as well now? Do you pick that? Because Unico's looked more comfortable with that than on the Graves. I don't think the last game was necessarily his problem.
He's going to think about going back to it.
But the Graves has been locked in. Remember, he was against that Nidalee in the first game, which was pretty problematic for him. He couldn't end up getting a range, got out-farmed quite heavily. And, well, you got out-farmed in game 3 too, right? I mean, although admittedly against two very heavily farming junglers in the Nidalee and the Olaf in both those games, Utica has struggled to stay ahead of the game even when his team is in the lead.
This might mean, though, that Ebby decides, remember my Ornn pick, I'm pretty damn good at it. Instead,
no,
he'll
you won't say that.
Straight in for the Nico, and I saw it at 0-0 and thought it must be locked in, and I was debated. Saros had a decent start to game 2 before everything fell apart and Ari got rapidly ahead. I know we've been talking about Zyra. I know you've been ruminating about it with a few other analysts. Be a hell of a pick. Not going to be locked
don't
in.
Tease me like that.
I don't think they are being teased. Instead, it'll be the Gnar picked in. Gnar into Renekton is a pretty old matchup. It can go both ways. Of course, Gnar has a range advantage, can bully out Renekton. If Renekton gets on top of Gnar, Gnar is sad.
And when you get Blade the Ranking on Renekton, you can burst out most melee top laners in the game. No one really beats Mega Gnar. No one really in those bigger trades.
No one beats Mega Gnar.
Oh, this would be something. Okay, so this is a very, very early game comp from CGA. Kalista needs to win before Caitlyn gets Stormrazor, because once you get that long-range slow coming through, Kalista doesn't get to play the game. Also, playing Kalista into Nico, who has Glacial, that's horrible. Also, the ult is always going to catch you, because that's where all of the range of her ult is where you're doing your damage, right? So you don't get to hop around as much. If you get hit by Glacial, you're pretty much dead. Now what we're seeing is that now CGA focusing out once again those lane combos for DFM's Caitlyn. I think DFM have to ban away the Kalista, no, the Kalista.
Blitzcrank.
Blitzcrank for the Ballista combo, yes. Ban away. So what else does CJ want to pick? And maybe something like a Nautilus.
Yes. Nautilus. Thresh isn't bad either, and Grendel has put towards that. They banned the Lux here as well. It is the two Premier Binding champions, but remember they hovered the Zyra. That might just be a bit of a mental game going on here. And honestly, not awful versus Kalista either, because you could knock her up. If
you go for Zyra and you go for Rylai's first, Kalista doesn't get to play the game.
No, she does not.
No, she doesn't. Although, however, in the early game, giving her extra targets to hop off with her autos, maybe not the best thing ever.
True that. Could be a bit difficult, but let's see how it plays out. DFM, ban out the Thresh. It's the other big hook champion. Grand Thresh is good, but this, I suspect, leads to a Nautilus pick here, because otherwise I think DFM pick it up. They lock in the Leona instead. Takes away from Gang, who's been very, very good on it. It is super hard engage. I think it will force Utapon to run Cleanse again this game, and I'll be curious to see what Gang decides to run into this.
You can't run the Zyra, because
no, you can't.
Zyra dies horribly to Leona. Well, I mean, you can put down the ult, and things got a bit awkward there.
Too much sunlight! Too much sunlight!
Oh, photosynthesis! Gang has locked in the Bard, Ute, and
okay, so we finally get the Bard out. It got banned the last game. It's locked in. Caitlyn Bard is pretty obnoxious to lane.
I really want an awful like B-side movie take, and instead of Die Hard, it's Die Bard. It's Ute, mother. Yippee Ute.
Yippee Ute. As the Tempered Fate comes out to catch. Who would be falling off of the Nakatomi Towers?
Oh, to be honest, maybe you're just making the towers, Nakatomi Plaza go golden before the Herald charges into. Anyway, at least it's locked in for steal. That's a new thing. Let's talk about something else.
Okay,
so way too deep.
And again, this is a pretty important game, so a bit of humor absolutely important here. We like to laugh around on the cast, but it is also Steel now locked in with the Lee Sin, as we said.
I mean, hear me out here. This could still be Kalista flex to mid, but holding the Akali, it is going to be Akali for Arya.
Okay, so this is Arya's carry assassin. He's done it on LeBlanc before, but his Akali has done extreme things in the past. It's also not been fantastic in the past.
Well, I think Arya is mechanically very proficient at the pick. I think in side lanes, the Akali can definitely beat out the Gnar. Can definitely beat out the Nico, who has assassination potential there. My problem is now, every single member of CJ is low range. Kalista, not a high range AD carry. Graves, not a high-range jungler. You are now playing that into a Mega Gnar, into a Bard who can Tempered Fate you and try and peel your way. With the bindings, Caitlyn traps Nico, ult and Lee Sin kick. CGA may have counterpicked themselves if they fall too far behind and overforce fights when DFM have the control of the terrain. However, the amount of run forward, catch people out the CGA have is still very threatening to DFM.
There's a lot of playmaking there.
It could be another early game decided game, Sam.
It could be. If CGA can get people like the Kalista ahead, like the Akali ahead, Caitlyn's under threat.
I'd love to know if you could bring this up production at some point. What's Gango's CSD on Kalista? And what's the if you could find that, or actually in general, just for him as a champion, right? As a player, right? Not champion.
He's put a lot of time into the champion.
Yeah, because I think a lot of this will be about how the 2v2 performs again. Utapon has been really stellar this series. I do think he's been a very consistent performer. Honestly, even when DFM has struggled, right? I think that having Gang onto one of his choice picks too doesn't mitigate that at all as well. It definitely helps that endeavor. And now we're loading into what potentially could be the last game of the series. All the cards are on the table.
All I'm going to say is I'm a touch worried for early lane pressure again, because I think the range advantage of Nico and Gnar should be able to shove in the Akali Renekton. Renekton can be a funny one, I grant you.
But Kalista and Decay and the Leona backing it up can be kind of awkward, right? If you end up getting that early Zenith Blade, jumping forward with the Halo Blades, you can force out summoners. I'd imagine Gang is taking the Exhaust, and you maybe can get out the Exhaust for free onto the Kalista. So it's going to be about this 2v2. If they do bring out the Exhaust and then it's a disengage through from CGA, how many auto attacks does Utapon get on the return? Does the Cosmic Binding land, or is Gang actually going to start the W for the extra heal? I mean, I remember seeing that from Burning Core, right?
Yeah, that's how they went.
They ended up surviving a very slim 2v2 because of flashing into those healing shrines. Talking about, we just got that stat through. It looks like Gango CSD is normally minus 0.5. Even though they've had a really good win record this split, they're still not necessarily doing it through early lane dominance in the bot lane.
No. It's also like, again, there's something to be said for that, like Caitlyn, once you get Stormrazor as well, can be a real thorn in Kalista's side. That slow can be really irritating for Kalista when she's trying to hop in for fights.
Yeah, if you get hit by the, well, this is the thing, right? If you get hit by one Glacial, one Boomerang, you have to dance around traps, watching out for bindings too.
Beep slap.
There's so little room for error on Gango's positioning in fights that his DPS will almost certainly drop unless CJ get just the miracle engage.
We're saying that actually, CGA, potentially if it comes to the team fights, even things get tricky, but there is so much playmaking, so much mobility with the Fate School, with the Hop, with Akali, with Renekton, and like there is ways that people could get blown up here. Can I ask you to turn your eyes to the Lee Sin as well, and what you want to be seeing out of...
I don't have eyes on the Colocaster.
Neither does Lee Sin, apparently, but cool. Tell me, therefore, as you've kind of got this empathetic trait, empathetic link, what do you want to see still getting done on this jungle, particularly compared to Unica as well? Like, give me some motivations for both these junglers in the early game.
Lee Sin can hold Akali accountable. If you land that Sonic Wave, you actually get a vision of Akali. It's one of the few things that used to give a vision of Akali, even when she had the obscured mechanic, which is very stupid, by the way. Still, I think the mid-jungle TVT can be very, very important in this game, at least in terms of still shielding Syros. This is not a counter matchup. Akali does have high early damage if you manage to chain your passives.
Correctly, yeah.
Yes, correctly. I think that Steel does have it does have better gank pressure than a Graves early. I don't think you want to overcommit to anything. It's more about remaining flexible enough to just tide you over to those first objectives. Get that river control. We're talking about that being very impactful in the last game. And Lee Sin is not the fastest clearing jungler, but as long as you can start denying this Graves and again make Unica a bit of a non-factor, I think he's done his job. Yeah,
if Unica's a non-factor again and DFM get to lane stably, things could get dangerous. We've said that before, but Unica managed to pull it off in game 2. See whether we can pull it off here in game 4. We are heading on to the Rift. And CGA's playoff dreams are on the line.
And don't get me wrong, I would love to see a game 5.
Oh, yeah.
I also want to see the best League of Legends we can here, because we are here looking towards Worlds plans. We see the playoffs happening around the world. We see it in VCS, PCS, and TCL, CBLOL, all of these different regions just from the emerging regions wildcard side of things. Never mind the NALCS and EU LEC and stuff like that too. That we need to have some confidence for our region coming into it. We saw the best of 5 between our top 2 regular season seeds. And we've had so many questions about the LJL in the past. Do we have the individual talent? Do we have the right read on the meta? Are we just going to send DFM again? Are they going to have the wrong read on things? I need to see something which makes me feel good about my region. And this is the kind of series when it does come to the breaking point. Can these teams go up to another level and show that we do have that threat at Worlds Play-ins?
Well, the gauntlet's been thrown. Arya and Gango go, screw it. Pick me Callista, pick me Akali, and I will try and show you how this works. They've done it before, they can do it again, but it's going to have to be now or never.
That's another thing. You can transform into Caitlyn. I'm not sure you get... I don't think you get beyond your attack range, but you still get... It makes you look very, very weird. You don't get any of the headshots, fortunately.
Once again, Blitzcrank bot favoring CJ off the draft. He was wrong in the last game, and he did eventually come around to DFM, but you can see bot side start for Steel was leashless. And Unica, though, pathing bot.
Pathing bot, but tracked pathing bot. Has a ward on his early red buff, whereas CJ have no idea right now, or at least they can only guess. They might have had some kind of tip-off somewhere in terms of the positioning of everyone. What this does mean is that DFM, looks like they are pushing up in that bot lane right now, may have the potential to get ganked there.
Maybe. Arya and Sarah hitting level 2. Just keeping things as close as we can right now. You can see where Graves has gone red to blue. He'll be going to Gromp as well. I think it might be another one of those level 3 ganks coming through.
However, early River ward does end up securing DFM's push for now. You'd have to catch Gang. He doesn't have the cleanse, but then if he has gone for the tunnel level 2, which you can do, he might be able to flash to a wall and get out.
Okay, ward down from Nap as well.
Okay, so both jungles are trapped now.
They are trapped. They know what's going on. Grendel lands the Zenith Blade. Unica's roaming over. Utapon has got to try and find a way. That's the cleanse down. That's a lot of damage, actually, from Ganga with the Rend as well. Unica might look for the kill here. Gang got to be a bit careful, but there is the healing shrine. And Unica, by going over the back of the Dragon Pit, has avoided vision.
This is what we talked about from Game 3. They didn't find the path, but you can start pathing around some of this vision. Be very, very quiet. It's bot lane hunting season.
It is. Look where Lee Sin knows. He's coming down there now, and he might find Graves on these Krugs. Could be a dangerous spot. And remember, Gango's not exactly at high HP either. Utapon got 2 healing shrines. There is the Pierce, but little else to be found. And once again, Unica's there. Steel is not. Could go for a dive.
Has to be a dive. They have exhaust. Of course, they didn't take heal.
Here we go. We're going to try and go for it. There is a teleport available for Ceros. Might use it. He hasn't got flash. Has used it now. And that means that now the teleport's coming in and CJ needs to back out. Gango's had to burn heal. There is Lee Sin, the magical journey. And CJ have gone too deep on the bot lane play again. They're going to get punished. Utapon gets out. Grendel does not. He goes down to first blood to the Caitlyn. It's disaster in the bot side for CJ.
CJ over pushing the bot side after that trade. Give up their support. Give up a kill to the Caitlyn. Early dominance from the bot lane. We know how that decided things in the past. And the first scuttle goes over to Steel. We talked about how he might have just done his job if he just contains Unica and makes him a non-factor again. He's done better than that. Turns up to the bot lane play. Gives that numbers advantage alongside Saros' TP as well. Although now he's running into Unica again.
He is. Took an end of the line there and a shotgun blast to the face, which is not great. I don't recommend that. Seros, though, just trying to buy time, buy some space. Lands the Blooming Burst as well. Nap's roaming over, though. Steel's going to have to be a bit wary. Has got a... Actually gets W'd. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. May have to try and find his way out. Flash is in a lot of trouble. There's the steal. It's not quite enough, but actually a lot of damage now back onto Nap, who got the Triumph healing. It's a lot. But Ebby flashes forward and gets the return goal. Now Unica's in trouble. He's not got flash, and Ebby can just chase him down. Quick draw is not quite enough. Boomerang, can he land it? Unica needs to hope. They're just going to wait for the hop. Oh my god. Ebby misses. And now there's the smoke screen. Oh my days. That got
teleported. He's got the move speed buff.
He's going to have the move speed buff. There is Nap. Can Ebby get the hop? That's the Boomerang, the hop. Now Nap trying to try and get under turret. Can't quite get it.
Madness in the early game. Could we expect any less? It's CJ. It's the passive they have on the game.
Scuttlecrab stays up, by the way.
Scuttlecrab is alive. Unica has gone back to his Krugs instead of securing that objective. Teleport out from Nap, and Ebby will teleport back to lane. It's a kill apiece. Tabby apiece. But once again, it is things going back and forth across the map, but still DFM with the early gold lead.
And Unica didn't even get kill involvement there.
No, he didn't. He ended up getting forced off, having to flash out. He smited a minion, but of course, you don't actually get healing from minions. You only get that from monsters. You didn't get that. Of course, he's not running Phase Rush for the Nimbus Cloak either, so you didn't even get any of that move speed.
Is he running Sorcery Secondary?
I don't think he will be. You're probably removing, probably going for the Domination, I'd imagine. It does give you some nice things. Well, potentially will, but anyway. Maybe he has done. I didn't see the Nimbus Cloak thing, so I doubt it.
All right, and gang, magical journey away, so you can stay out of the way of the Rend, which would be dangerous. Grendel gets pulled back, but that was well buffered with the net, actually, and then Grendel takes an awful trade as a result of it.
It could have been worse. He had his W, and he also had Aftershock running, so he did take less damage than he could have done. But still, Gango is not backed just yet. It will be a reset out of the bot lane. Steal a level over Unica. He is so far ahead in this early game. Look at those CS difference in the jungle. So many camps ahead. We also see, once again, Seros getting the better of Arya in the early lane.
That, remember, Unica went red to blue to Gromp and then went over the back of the Dragon Pit and didn't get anything really done. That's why his farm number's so low. He took a very aggressive path to try and get the gank off. It didn't work and it set him behind. Now this Lee Sin is at a pretty strong point, honestly, even with the death in time.
He is, and he'll be reaching his warrior a little bit quicker because of the gold he's had. He'll be getting to level 6 level quicker, and those are very important things. If you can work around those timings, and DFM been good at calculating, can end up being the game-changing play in these early skirmishes. Magical Journey used by Gang, but level 6, level 4, huge difference in the jungle right now.
Oh, got to be very careful. Does Unica here, actually? Wondered whether the dragon was being started. Did DFM, but it's going to be double counter gank. But that level advantage for Steel is so massive.
But remember, level 6 on Arya and no teleport for Seros. That could also be something that's
coming in. You're going to find it, but Steel's around as well. Grendel now in trouble, but we've got to see what Steel can get done. Is he just going to shoot? But that's a great cosmic banding onto the Leona, who takes a lot of damage. No level 6 for Utapon, though, and CG are going to have to disengage. DFM might just use that option to attempt to back into the dragon. Yeah, Unica's around, but he's still that 2 level down.
So Still around this bottom river. Unica has no vision here. Steel's going to catch him.
He is going to catch him. Gang's around as well. They're going to try and go into Utapon, but remember, there's the Fates Core level 6 hit early. Gang, Utapon trying to flash out. Over the back, you can see Unica and Steel dueling away. Utapon gets the healing Francis 5, and Steel still fighting off against that. They get that one too. Grendel's so low. Steel going to try and get something in here, but Arya is around and Steel's in a spot of bother. Seros now roaming. Grendel had to flash. Can't get in, though. That's going to be both DFM members over into the Dragon Pit. They're looking for more still. Gang hunting. Flash for the Cosmic Binding, and slap down is the Leona. Arya now out, and Gango hopping around, but the Magical Journey coming through. He's going to get slowed. Seros is still around. They could look to dive this, but wait, the health bars are low. Arya's going, he's got ult. Utapon is so low. He can't quite survive, but the perfect execution gets 1. It'll get 2, because the 5-point strike claims a second. Arya still doesn't quite land the shuriken, but Arya turns around what could have been an absolute disaster and makes it an even trade.
So why did they go so deep for that, dear DFM? A lot of it is just because Steel is really strong right now. They just used so much from the bot lane of CGA. They thought they could outplay everything, but then with the Dragon's Rage down, they couldn't lock up someone long enough. And of course, we're going to go see the back end of that play and maybe go have a look a bit more. Fate's Call goes in. I think they just think that Unica has spent so much time on the bot side already. He would have gone back to farming. Of course, that doesn't happen. It's just the Fate's Call coming in and going for that straight up 2v2. See how Unica goes down. It still feels pretty good about the situation. He has the mobility left. Gang is so low. They want to force themselves onto another kill. They still have Nico, Flash, and ults. They think they have the advantage here. What happens after this point? Looks like Gango is just a little too far up. Seros with ult and Flash. They think that maybe they could try and go for a big Pop Blossom. It just doesn't end up that way. If the damage comes through from Arya, who chases down in this very split fight, extra mobility, doesn't have to use his flash until this point, but of course the Ward Hop is back available, and doesn't get his third.
Still 1,000 gold lead for DFM, but that kill lead onto Arya is a bit terrifying. Seros kind of walked away there, thought it was kind of done, wanted to set around for the dragon, but CGA just playing the end of that fight really cleverly. Or Arya specifically.
Yes, he is. And that's the power which Akali can afford you. He just has so much target accessibility as this champion compared to so many different assassins in the game. He has more consistent damage than someone like a Zed or a Talon or even a LeBlanc, right? Because you're passive chaining. You get to stay a little bit closer range without having to worry so much about yourself because you have the Gunblade alongside everything else. We do need to see the screen right now.
We're back, it's cool.
So we're already seeing this on screen there. Sorry, just a little bit of problems on our end, just flicking between a couple of things. See that gold disadvantage there for the jungle, really, really important, because this means that, once again, Unica, Graves is a damaged person. He does damage. That is his MO. He has the smoke screen for a bit of utility, but Steel is just doing so much more pound for his pun. He's more better pound for pound right now than Unica.
He is, but remember, while all that was going on, we saw the Herald taken topside with the debacle bot.
Charge? They can get the eye?
I don't know. It might do. Can't quite. Might now finally charge. They'll get a couple plates, and that's a pretty big deal for this.
No one got gold. Does it? No, I didn't see the gold trail. pretty sure no one got gold from that.
Okay, we're going to see instead first Drake go over to CGA.
So,
And actually, Ebby's getting time alone on the top side and gets a couple plays back in time.
Yeah, so Nap wanders down because no one had TP. They go down for a Herald play. The Herald is denied, so they don't get 2 plates on the bot side, actually. It's 2 plates top side and some waves.
Wait.
This is a 2v3, though.
Oh, no. Grandel's in trouble. There's a solar flare, but he's now in trouble. But Fate's call will buy time, but that is a fabulous use of the Tempered Fate. Grendel buys a lot of time, but now Gango in trouble gets kicked back. He's trying to hop wild, doing a lot of work, but it's not enough, and Unopon gets the kill.
That's the healing shrine, the Guardian coming through. Looked a little bit close. Gango trying to channel his inner Yutori Miyashi in that 2v2 from the last series that Sengoku played. Ebby walking up to Nap. He's just going to keep chasing down. Mininar so obnoxious to play against as a melee range top laner.
Oh, hits with the second boomerang. Well, that's half the HP bar gone. Thank you very
so
much.
Many hyperprocs.
And he's got the ward down the back to see what's going on with Krug. Sees they're still up. There's now just going to be another boomerang down. He's got Mega Gnar to his name as well. So it's not like Nap can even walk up to the wave anymore.
Yeah, this is what happens when you... And also Nap's gone for Tiamat, by the way. He's gone for the wave push. And so what Tiamat does for you as Renekton is it does allow you to cancel your W animation, which is nice. It means you can get some very quick combos in and out, and then just make sure that you're not CCing yourself. Alright, walking forward for a trade onto Seros to make sure he can clear out that wave. He's really looking to get towards that Gunblade, as all Akalis are. And at that point, he's looking to try and 1v1 maybe someone like the Gnar on the sideline. He's gone towards the Tabby, not going towards any kind of MR. Of course, you wouldn't versus Renekton, and try and make use of the side lane play. But CJ have had a bit of a tenuous history with trying to split the map.
Yeah, they... Well, have not been the best at it, but the Gunblade is now complete for Arya. Of course, accelerated by the 2 kills he received earlier on.
He's still 20 CS down. But...
Yeah, exactly. He's done fairly well in the lane, and, you know, he's got an assist to his name, so not in a bad space. I suspect he'll have a GLP when he backs as well. We'll have to wait and see when he decides to go for that recall. No dragons up to speak of, and that's partly why Nap's picked up that Tiamat as well, just to try and clear the wave away from Gnar, if nothing else.
Doesn't prevent a third plate going down to Ebby there, which is kind of unfortunate. We might be coming into a game pause, it looks like. We'll try and get as much information on that as possible, but that means we get more time to small talk. Back to Ditto and Pokemon.
Yeah, Ditto and Pokemon. Who's the Ditto in this game, though? Nico still.
Well, yes.
Of course.
Nico is the Ditto of League of Legends. Except slightly more useful in the metagame. Has better base stats.
GLP's pretty great. Imagine if Ditto could be on with GLP. How terrifying would that be?
Well, just like give Ditto weaponry. Imagine if Ditto could transform into heavy armaments.
I mean, that's what Mewtwo kind of had originally.
Ditto used transform. Ditto transformed into a Mac from Halo.
A ginormous railgun. Hooray!
Yep. Turns into Senna.
Beautiful.
There you go.
That's it.
How's
She
the
can
railgun?
turn into Senna.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Just give yourself a magic railgun. Sounds fun.
I suppose if we got this moment here as well, let's take stock of where we're at with the game.
Oh,
how are you feeling about the game state right now?
Caitlyn's still relevant.
Yep.
Unica is very far behind. Akali has the ability to turn the game in a couple of key fights, but DFM have not really shown any openings for that thus far.
Yeah.
And also, it's very hard to do that when there are no long lanes for the Akali to walk into and try and trace people down with both parts of the ultimate. CJ are not out of this yet, but they are still down a significant amount of gold, and we've seen that be very difficult for them to overcome in their 2 losses this series. And the other game that they won was about just a huge snowball from them, which is not happening right now. They do have the solar flat, they do have Fate's Call.
There's double teleport from DFM though, who are looking like they want to respond. There's the teleport in response. Utapon's coming through. Do they just go for the Temper Fate on themselves? There it is. It buys time for the TP to come through. And that's Pop Blossom down to the Unica, who's caught under turret. He's going to take a lot of damage now, but wait, there's Nap trying to buy a lot of time. Does not quite get the kill. The traps are huge. He falls down to the turret, but not before Utapon goes down. It is a 2. Wait, that's 3 for none right now, and Ebby's sure to fall as well. Now he's got no HP, and this dive is so good. Steel wasn't around. Can't find the Sonic Wave, and CGA pull the dive off, even with the double TP.
There was a double TP from DFM, but Arya gets there in time to pick up another 2 kills. The Akali we're talking about. DFM really hadn't shown any weaknesses, and he gaps in the armor for this Akali to chase people down. CGA just rend off a piece of the plate mail themselves with this 4-man dive. 5-man dive, excuse me. Mega Gnar is available, always very dangerous. Gang does use the Tempered Fate, blocks out on the collateral damage and the first part of the CC, but it means that the tower's not firing. The CC is not really worth anything at that point, because normally you do that to buy for a time for an extra tower shot. Nab gets a huge empowered Q to get back about half of his HP. He does die at the end of this, but he's already done his job. The amount of healing he gets means he's taken, what, 4, 5 turret shots amongst all of this? This allows the rest of the damage and the mobility of CJ to cut down 4 members of DFM. Game on.
Game on. The gold is now dead, even and CGA pull off the miracle dive there.
That
so
should not
well
work.
played.
That should not work.
That was great play from there, great turret juggling, and honestly, Nap there played that Renekton really well in that.
He did, and he gets, what, a 4-man queue, even when he's exhausted. Imagine if that exhaust hadn't come through. Maybe would have even survived that play, all things said and done. Steel was not there in time. DFM, even with the globals, didn't have this very strong Lee Sin, able to kind of dissuade CJ from going for that dive. It's second Herald time again.
He's in a bit of trouble, he's going to get banned, and there is no Fate's Call. He goes golden, but he's sure to fall here. The face check from Grendel was always a problem. The Solar Flare there, but Utapon gets the kill. That's his third. Aria, apologies, has got teleport.
Don't worry about it. So what it does do is it buys time. Well, it means that DFM actually peel themselves off of their Herald. It doesn't really lead to much, all things said and done, though. It just delays them from taking this. It looks like it was kind of inevitable going down.
See, that will have been what the pause was for there. Gango had a bit of a DC, came back through, all well and good. Steel gets second Herald, and that evens things up, back to a bit of a gold lead for DFM, who caught the Leona in a bad spot.
So we do have Ari with a 2-level advantage, early level 11, compared to Saros still at level 9. Who's really... Well, remember that there have been a couple of times where Saros teleported bot the first time. Teleported
level
bot
9, he's level 11.
Second. He was just level 9 just then. Okay, right, well, maybe just something happening. Okay. Oh, maybe he transformed... Okay, regardless, I thought that was the thing. It's like, wow, CS advantage.
I think he transformed into Steel, possibly.
But, like, it was... Okay.
We confused him!
Someone tell me I'm not mad. I'm pretty sure I just saw him at level 9. I'm like, wow, that's really good. Ari's got loads of side lane pressure with a level advantage. Okay, right, so, still, Ari in a long lane on the Akali is very, very threatening at this point in the game. Has so much damage. Looks like he's going towards maybe Leandri's second 2, which would be very effective versus the Gnar. Of course, he could be going towards something like the Void Staff 2. But if he's in the side lane, he's not there to defend the mid lane. He doesn't have teleport, and this Herald will maybe take down even 2 turrets at this point.
Yeah, I think it is. They've managed to just take down the first one without the charge, taking any HP off the Herald. Ari is roaming down there, Nap's roaming up. DFM probably want to back out fairly swiftly here.
Again.
Steel's just roaming through the jungle, you can see. They might actually try and collapse onto this Renekton instead. They're going for the kick. Saros is around. They found a lot of damage, but the Dominance now in. That's a lot of healing from the Cull, the Meek. Solar Flare comes out. Doesn't really hit all that much, but Grendel taken very low. Wait for the Solar Flare. The Tempered Fate's not bad. Grendel doesn't land all that much, but the collateral damage gets the kill onto Steel. Magical Journey now buying time. Grendel is low, but here comes Arya and the rest of CGA.
Everyone's coming through.
Arya flashing forward, trying to get as much damage as he can. He finds the 5-point strike. He's going to get so much damage. Gets the kill. The Pop Blossom doesn't do much, but wait, I lied! The flash in from Saros gets one back. Now Unica in a lot of trouble. They're going to get a 2 for 2 there as Gnar gets another. 3 for 2, all things said and done. That was a mess.
And who's the beneficiary again? It is going to be Arya, 5-0-2. Nap buying so much time on the Renekton. He's had a much more impactful game on this champion than he has done in any of the other 3 games this series. He survives so many times. He does it in the tower dive. He does it in this big collapse onto him as well now. He is doing so much for his team.
Let's see the replay one more time. They go on to Nap, think they can catch him. It's just not quick enough.
There's no extra CC there. They end up getting the exhaust down, but what does that exhaust do? It means you don't have that for someone like Ari later into the fight. Fate's Call comes out. There's no exhaust for the not the Grendel, the Gango. The Gango, sure, he's in this game. Cosmic Binding does land, but then this Magical Journey might have saved Gang, but it ends up being pretty problematic for the rest of his team. Arya flashing forward with that perfect execution. Yusbon has no heal. He has the healing shrine, sure, but then the triple rather. Perfect execution coming out pretty big. Saros, though, coming up with a really, really big turnaround with that one. Ends up finishing off 2 people for the cost of his own life. Considering he was going to die anyway because he was behind enemy lines, just very well to get maximum value out of that. These mid laners, both of them, putting on a show.
They're doing pretty well here. Of course, Arya is the recipient of a lot of those kills. Went for that Oblivion Orb early to really stack things up. But DFM aren't done. They're looking to come top. Get onto Eunuch, who's taken very, very low. Slowed down. Flushes the Blooming Burst, but not the Tempered Fate. Slow down onto Arya now as well, who's taken a lot of damage. They know where he is. They're going onto him. Arya cannot escape, but he gets shut down. And DFM punish the Akali and the Graves.
Nap might be able to survive that many people coming at him, but Unica and Arya cannot. They both fall to that 4-man roaming play on the top side of the map, and that will lead to a tower going down on the top side too. DFM not pulling their punches on that one.
Bit of a pause here. I think that's on the streaming because you can see the screen still moving.
Oh, yes,
that is a bug from the LJL. We're back to a pause. Something weird is afoot.
Could be connectivity, could be anything. Hopefully
Ditto. That's what it is.
It's the Porygon in the system.
That's it.
Yeah.
Porygon is a problem. Who will be Porygon?
I haven't prepared my answer for this. We should have scripted this.
We should have scripted this.
Oh man, maybe.
Okay. So moving away from Pokemon in the system because it's the wrong game right now. DFM find themselves picks on the top side. It's been the most back and forth game we've seen thus far.
It has been, yeah, it absolutely has been. And a lot of that is due to the early playmaking from potential from all champions in this game, right? It's not just the Akali who can assassinate earlier into the game than some champions. It's not just the Kalista and the Caitlyn who both have early lane dominance, or the CC coming out in droves from both supports. Everyone can make all of these big plays, and because it's such a high tension match, rather not map, it means that basically everyone's been pushed to this point where they're up against the wall, and it's like, okay, right, well, how do we win this game? We playmake. So playmake they do.
And it's been very back and forth. 4 kills onto the Caitlyn, which is good news for the Caitlyn. It's 5 onto the Akali, but she just got shut down, which is pretty big for DFM as well.
After using the ult,
yeah,
right?
And then they get the 2 out of turrets for this as well. So that's actually going to be a fairly big swing in goal,
Yes.
and it's map pressure for them as well, which might prevent a little bit of this. We're back into game, actually, as Nap finds
so not
himself in
going
a
to
Mega
get both out of turrets on the side lanes. The top
Probably
bottom
not.
one
Yeah, you can see the roam
will
down.
survive. Black Cleaver in for Renekton. That's pretty nice. It means that the if he does dive in and gets the tier, that's another thing, right? The Tiamat counts as physical damage. Well, of course it is. It means that an extra stack of Black Cleaver can go across onto the team. You stack up Black Cleaver AoE very, very quickly with this build. And that means that the Kalista starts doing a lot more damage across the team fights as soon as you get that Runon's Hurricane, and you get those AoE rend stacking onto multiple targets, and hopefully that will be for CGA at least what will turn those team fights later into the game to their advantage.
Problem is here though that Graves Unica is once again struggling. He's down 50 CS, down 2 levels.
Died in that top lane fight too.
1, 3, and 3. Like,
wait, blue buff. They're just giving doubles over to Gango. They just want him to be as powerful as possible against that 2M spike.
I mean, yeah, this is the point. If Kalista doesn't snowball at 2 items, then you're in a problem. She's done well. She's got good amounts of farm, has found a lot of that. You remember, Utapon's been dived so many times. I've been able to sit in lane and farm, for crying out loud. And that has been good news for Gango. But, there's still 4 kills. There's still 2 items on this Caitlyn, who's not in an awful space either.
No, and now you have double glacial items coming from Seros. So even though this Kalista may get relatively strong in this game, you need to be dodging out so many different forms of slows, which means that Kalista cannot team fight, because just as we always say with Kalista, because of her hopping passive, if she gets movement speed slowed, it effectively slows her hop speed too, which is in turn slowing her attack speed. Her DPS drops through the floor if she gets slowed.
It's an Ocean Rift again, remember, guys, and the Dragons will be spawning in under a minute. You can see by the grey timer. We don't have an exact timer because I think it's bugged, so we don't get to know. But that means that DFM are holding court in the river. Arya, though, is over by the blue buff looking for something. Actually, Grendel might be in a spot above, but remember, the Tempered Fate forced the flash out of Gango, but now remember the Solar Flare coming back around. That's the Zenith Blade as well. He's going to get Fates called, but that is a lot of ultimates now. Burn for CJ, and he misses it! He has to flash back out, takes a lot of damage. They heal that burn from Gango. There's no summoners available. Meganar is here! And he doesn't find all that much, but it's enough. They get onto Grendel. They get onto Gango. Arya gets a lot, but the Pop Blossom will not escape for Arya, who's trying his best, but he's very, very low, and that means that DFM will take the 2-for-1. They'll shove him for this mid lane tier 2, and they'll get the Ocean Dragon.
The Kalista just doesn't have any space to do anything. The Meganar comes out. We were talking about that, of course. And just the big ult zones him out for so long. Caitlyn gets to do damage from far too far away. Gets both kills, gets the double buffs off that too, or at least there's the blue buff that was still remaining. And now it is going to be the Ocean Dragon over to DFM. No Dragon stacking from CGA. DFM looking like they're back in the ascendancy.
Let's see this replay one more time.
Okay, so forced out the flash very early from Gango. Gang has been very on point with this. Grendel goes in to try and dissuade DFM from following up any further. This is the problem where it all goes wrong, though. You end up using the Tempered Fate, not the Fate's Call, rather, Tempered Fate's Call, that's the one we want to see. And Grendel just goes in way too far. Gets the stun mid-hop for Ebby, and it's only Gango that's caught, but then the wallop comes through. He doesn't have the flash anymore, already flashed out of that Bard ultimate. He just has no way to disengage. Arya kicked back, at least he survives, but this Akali can't even finish off the rest of this fight.
Got exhausted very early on in that one. They did manage to finish off Baby, but he was kind of going to be the sacrificial lamb at that point anyway. And with your bot lane is dead and the Akali out of juice, things looked a little rough there. DFM move up to a 3,500 gold lead. They stop the dragon stacking. Caitlyn's at 6 and 2 and is on her way to an Infinity Edge. Yeah, Kalista's got 2 items, but things getting a bit scary.
Speaking of items, I need to pull out the shopkeeper card.
Wait.
No, I can't. Steel's getting caught.
He is. He's got flash. Might need to burn it. Arya is around, but Steel also around. But the teleport now coming in. Arya gets slowed down by the glacial. It's a double glacial. Pop Blossom coming out. They're going to get 3. Arya manages to avoid it, but now DFM looking to contest. Nap has got dominance running, but they don't want to come in, and that will be the end of the fight. But now Steel hopping forwards. The slow, the Tempered Fate. Nap goes down. That That'll be the Fates call back, but will they look for the re-engage? Gotta be wary, look for the spacing. Unica comes out. Flash for the Cosmic Binding does not work. Now Gang very low, but Meganar is available. That is the Boulder Toss catching on to Aria, but DFM will take one and try and disengage through the red side jungle.
It's only a 1 for none to the side of DFM. It could have been much, much worse, but this is a play which CJ started. They committed Aria's teleport, committed the Akali ultimate too alongside the Fates call. It's not really going well for CJ. Everything they're looking for is failing right now. DFM responding very well.
And where's their wave clear versus the Caitlyn siege? They can't walk up into a Nico, into a Bard. They've got Callista.
Your wave clear is kill them first and then deal with the wave after, but they cannot crack DFM in this kind of situation. They're just forming this phalanx, and the Caitlyn's untouched in most of these fights.
Aria is 300 gold ahead. That is the only person who has a lead for CGA. The Spooky Ghost coming out. Unica gonna get slowed. Oh, this Glacial Nico is a terror. Teleporting from Nap in the bind, though. And look at Grendel. He's in the backside. Has got onto 1. DFM has killed 2 already before Nap can get in. He's onto Utapon, though. Could be problematic. Can they get the kill on the Caitlyn? But the Pop Blossom buys so much space. Aria goes in, but has to go straight back out again. Hop forward for Ebby. That was... potentially a little bit scary. And actually, it's not a hop, it's a crunch, of course, in Meganar, I forget. And that means that DFM with 3 dead, jungler down, Aria no ult, no flash. DFM returned to the Baron, and it was close until it wasn't.
Close until it wasn't. We thought maybe earlier in the series, Game 2, CG had found their Caitlyn counter, found something to deal with DFM's style of play. Game 3 happened. Didn't work out. Game 4, it's not happening again. There will be no Baron steal this time, and of course, it didn't even matter when they did in Game 3. It's just so hard for CJ to fight around these mixed kind of team fights, particularly when so many of the members individually are so far behind. Steel is 3.5k ahead of Unica and has been for quite some time now. He's just never lost his lead, and this is why Unica can't turn around for these kind of burst combos. He gets caught, he just gets deleted.
It's just autos him twice. Like...
the ultimate. He kicks him in the face.
Kicks him first. I mean, but this is... We're watching over this replay here, and you can see Nap gets caught out, and Aria just has to go straight back out. That's the best he can do, is style point.
And this is the thing, right? We were talking about how CJ have very low range composition versus the Caitlyn Travs, Nico Wall, Ebby trying to go in Meganar, steal with the kick. This is what happens when your team falls behind. The early... Yeah, sure, that early turret dive, I was like, okay, CJ, nice, got themselves a way to even up the gold. But then they immediately throw it back away again. CJ have been trying to skirmish their way into that round 3 match. But right now, they're skirmishing their way right back out of it.
Because it's not turret dives anymore, it's team fights. It'll be Ocean Drake number 2 on the table. CJ want to contest, but they are 8,000 gold down, remember, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't think DFM have actually had all that much chance to reset. They might have spent a little bit too long. Remember, Utapon's been sat on that BF sword for a while.
They do have a GA onto Steel, so at least some of them have done.
That's
Steel
good.
having that level 13, 2 levels over Unica can be very
Wait,
important.
Nap's going in. They're onto Utapon, but he's got cleanse. He's staying alive. The Plot Blossom is once again good at buying time. Nap, low, dead. Tempered Fate onto Gango, who's caught in place. The Cosmic Binding is badly timed, but Gango still falls out, and the Callista hops once and falls flat on her face. Into the back goes Ebby, but Unica has to back away with the collateral damage with the flash, and that again is all he is this game. Collateral damage to the steam train that is DFM at the end of this game. Grendel is caught in a turret by Seros. He can't even back. He's just walking forwards. That'll be a Zenith Blade, but it was the clone that took aggro. Auto attacks by time. It's 20 kills to 11. Grendel is dead for another 30 seconds, and DFM will push in to try and end it. They have got a hope, a prayer, and an Akali to try and buy time.
They do have the Akali ultimate with GAs available, and just the full stat stick of DFM's team comp. I don't know if they can defend this, Sam.
They're going to be onto the last Nexus turret. It has fallen. Gang goes up. Aria is up. This is it. CGA. But Nap has already gone golden. He's already fallen down. Utapon finds another one. And the strong arm of the law is long enough for the LJL reigning champions. They might have suffered in the split, but they are here in playoffs to play. Sengoku Gaming, V3. Be afraid. Be so very afraid.
DFM may be back in business. CGA, the story for them, the split was a good one. They were on the same page when they went for the skirmishes. They were always coming together for these huge outplays. Not versus DFM. DFM show CGA what the meaning of teamwork is in this series. They were calm, they were collected, they were mechanically outplaying CGA, and they finish off the series.
All right, well, to talk more about this game and how Nymera was clearly the superior analyst with the correct prediction, I'm going to back off for a couple minutes and come back with an analyst desk. Catch your breaths, and we'll see you there.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial, bringing you that coverage of the LJL playoffs. Gentlemen, round two. Oh god, so versatile. I almost took off my headphones. Round two is in the books now. We've got our victors, we've got our losers, sadly.
Got our Nikos.
And Nico Ni, as we've seen 3 games of Nico now. What are we expecting? Where did this game go? How did it unfold? And bot lane, I feel like, is the main story of this match.
It is.
It is, and
Yeah, it started again from the jungle pathing. We saw Kalista Leona versus Caitlyn Bard. That is 2 lanes that want early dominance.
Yeah.
And CGA spent everything to try and get their Kalista ahead, and it wasn't all that successful. It was back and forth a lot early game. Unica went red to blue to Gromp to dashing over the back of the Dragon Pit to skirt out Vision in the river. It cost him a massive farm lead. He went to try and dive bot, didn't get it. He went on to Krugs. He gets caught. DFM get first blood under the tower dive instead. And yeah, Utapon has the back and loses a wave. But it's still not a clean dive, and then Unica is a non-factor for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, one of our narratives for CGA, right, has been Gango is kind of crap from behind. He plays aggressively even when he doesn't have the lead. We saw CGA in this last game, particularly because obviously that's the last one we just saw on screen, fresh in the mind. They tried to play aggressive with the Callista. It just didn't lead to enough.
No, it didn't really lead to much of anything. Though, in all credit to CGA, there was at one point early on in the game a ray of hope where they did have a really decent dive, didn't they, Nymara?
They did. Of course, just before that, we did have Ari getting those 2 kills as well. So we already had a strong Akali on the map. Something to be worried about. This dive didn't start with the Akali. It started with the 4-man grouping up bot with the teleport. Well, the 3-man of the bot lane, and then, of course, the jungler coming in. Arya roaming down first, and then Nap teleporting in. And they did this in a timing where Steel was on the top side of the map. I don't know whether they had the information of that or whether they were just chucking it out there.
I think they guessed a little bit.
Potentially. And then also, Narbar was very, very low. So even though the double teleport came from the solo laners of DFM, Steel wasn't there, and you had a huge lead over Unica. That would be another story of this game. Bard ults the tower, not enough tower shots come through. Nap on the Renekton did a pretty good job, actually. He crutched on it a little bit during their first series versus the Hawks. He plays very well in these brawly team fights. And they end up getting a 4-for-1, because Arya ends up getting a roam and doesn't have to use his TP anyway.
Sure.
That was about the best we saw this team comp play out from CGA. Besides that, DFM were just completely on the same page and just stuffed most of the engages.
Yeah, like, it's just something to be said for, like, this comp from CGA needed to get rolling. They got the Akali rolling. They kind of got the Callista rolling, but it wasn't enough. They found another, like, 3-for-2 down the bot side when DFM tried to engage on Nap in the river. And, like, there was some even back and forth fights, but they can't be back and forth. You need to get that Renekton, Callista, Akali so far ahead that DFM couldn't 5v5, because once you did, you have so many short-range carries into Seros's absolutely brutal glacial slows, and Utapon got enough kills that the Caitlyn was still a threat. And then from that as well, Unica was down 3,500 gold to a Lee Sin versus his Graves. That should never happen.
I mean, CGA were able to get some of the early objectives. They did get those first 2 dragons, but it didn't really come to anything because CGA just responded aggressively. Well, DFM rather responded aggressively and just took towers. They didn't care about the dragons. They'll take the towers. They'll take they'll take Rift Herald. They got that Rift Herald, decided to go for mid turret, took it down before Krabby could even do it, and then decides to rotate around, get their first dragon, and DFM really opened up the map in ways CGA weren't expecting right initialize.
Yeah, they did, and that map advantage to the long lanes ended up biting CJ in the ass a little bit because they lost control, and it hit a point once some items started coming in, the DFM started making the aggressive plays. They caught Arya and Unica, for example, on the top side, kind of napping.
After CJ just found a really good play bot, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And then things start getting more and more awkward. DFM start mainly the fights, and Gango can't play in the team fights because he's getting slowed a lot. Grendel's missing Fate's calls, landing a little short.
Or just taking bad options out of it.
Yeah, and then it's basically Arya against the world, and he's not really going to be able to kill 5 people in a straight 5 fight. He needs to catch people off a little bit. Get into the backline, get someone and get out.
And let's talk about Arya Nymara, because he had arguably maybe his most impactful game. He put it on his back, tried pretty hard to find a way into this, but just couldn't do much.
I don't think you could call it his most impactful game when Game 2 happened. He had like a quadra kill, a triple kill, a 25-stack Magi.
Almost any other champion, let's be real.
Yeah, there was a lot of snowball helping him, so I get why that's
Okay, no, I get it. Okay, yeah, no, I think that Arya, on the whole, had a good series. I still think he's one of our best individual players in the LJL, but you can see how the current meta, and actually how it has been for quite some time, is not about the individual. It is about how you fit into the greater machine, and that's where DFM have really impressed me today. They have good individual players. I wouldn't say any of their players were outclassed. Even Arya, who played well, I don't think made Seros relevant. I mean, we saw his Nico ults in that last game.
Really
what? Just disgusting. Just disgusting. Turning around plays where he should have, knowing that he's going to die, turns it around to 2 return kills, even though he does die anyway. But speaking of Arya, going back to it, yeah, I think the Akali did really well in the early game, but we identified right from the draft, CJ have a low range composition against a team with a lot of tools to deal with said low range. Akali is not safe from that and just had to back off from a lot of fights. There were a lot of fights where he wasn't even there for it. I remember a lot of mid lane fights when Nap was diving in. Akali was like a screen away, 2 screens away. Can't go into the fight. And that's one of the big things as well. Arya, while he may have had an early game lead, was not necessarily on the same page as his team, regardless of whose fault that is, to really turn these fights.
And let's give credit to the man himself that really kind of put DFM on the map and prevented CGA's own jungler from kind of throwing any momentum their way. Steel had a phenomenal series and really kept Unica in check and kind of controlled a lot of just the game, right?
Yeah, the one time Steel didn't have jungle control was the game that DFM lost. I think that probably tells you quite a lot about how important Steel can be to this team. Again, praise to Utapon. His Caitlyn was pretty damn fantastic. Praise to Gang. We saw the Leona and the like looking pretty good. It was a pretty good team performance, frankly, from DFM. And
Abby won every lane.
Yeah, and this looked a lot more consistent than what they were versus Burning Core, where we were like, how on earth did you throw that lead?
Does that mean that Burning Core are actually better than CGA?
No, there's a question to be asked. I think that it depends on
CGA didn't want to face
matchups.
Burning Core.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that. For instance, I was saying that maybe CGA are a better matchup into Sengoku, and if DFM end up losing against them, maybe that gives a bit of credence to. Maybe it's about the team matchup rather than the overall skill level and the series meta.
Plays that matchup for me.
Of course, I mean today DFM were definitely the better team than Crest Gaming Act. Don't get me wrong, but what does that mean for the wider state of the league? It doesn't actually matter anymore. Only 3 teams left in it, and those are the ones which matter.
Yeah, well, though, V3 are already sitting very comfortable in the finals, waiting for the winner, the victor of round 3. Now, we'll be having a week break off. We'll be back in 2 weeks, bringing you that coverage for round 3 and round 4. Round 3 is going to now be, as we know for sure, Sengoku with side selection, facing off against Detonation FocusMe. Have to make that aware, because everyone would just assume DFM always have it, because they're normally always at the top of the table. Have to make sure.
Not this time.
Not this time. And this is also a repeat match for Sengoku and DFM
So spicy.
from round 3 in Spring Split. Oh!
Yeah. And the thing is now,
feels good.
DFM, if they were
round
to
2,
make it to the finals and they were to win, they have to go through 2 teams they are 0-2 against in the regular split. And they were quite confident 0-2s as well, actually. I mean, the V3, the first game they played against them was very close, right up until it wasn't. A V3 team fought their way out of everything. This is going to be a really interesting playoffs to watch because it forces DFM to adapt, evolve, and really start swinging hard for it. They've got to really swing for the boundaries because you cannot come into these series half-baked. You only have one life, whereas in the last split you did have the Juggernaut match, then to lose and then to come back. They've got to step up.
I mean, for V3 and Sengoku as well, like, they kind of hoped they'd seen the last of DFM, I think. And here they are, back again. And Sengoku's like, it can't happen again. Not again, not in playoffs, not like this. I mean, we dealt with you. We were second place. You were way out of this. How are you here again?
I mean, Burning Core tried their best. They didn't get there. And now CGA sadly lost the ball. They fumbled a bit too far. However, it wasn't the greatest loss in football history. That's way back in 18. I remember.
It depends if you care about Germany or Brazil.
It's no, only in American US football. Don't worry. Don't worry. 222-0.
Damn.
The best one after that was back at 100 and something. No one's even come close to it. It's a random thing. I'll send you the video.
For the trivia.
My pleasure. My pleasure. But with that said, we will be returning back in 2 weeks' time to cover round 3 and the finals. We're going to be having a podcast talking about everything. We have got to plug that here. But gentlemen, we now know that we're going to be seeing Sengoku Gaming facing off against Detonation FocusMe. How excited are you for that?
It's going to be great. And the fact that we get this matchup, the rematch, the 3rd time this year in a best of 5. There is so much history just within this one season.
7, 2, 4. We're going to have at least 14 games this year between these 2 teams.
You're going to know who's better out of the 2 of them by the end of this.
Yeah, I think they're even on head-to-head right now. I think they're currently so they went 1-1 in spring. So 1-1 in spring, and then it was 3-2 in playoffs for the first one. Then 3-1, 3-1. So that's 6 there, and then 2 to then 2. No, I think we're within one game of each other. This is really close.
Because what? Sengoku won the first time round, but DetonatioN FocusMe
3-2, then
back.
3-1.
Yeah. But now Sengoku have got another 3.
So Sengoku are 1 game in the lead.
Basically, we've got the most incredible storylines for whoever ends up in the finals one way or another. Yeah. It's going to be straight fire.
I'm not sure if DFM are the heroes of the LJL or the villains, but either way, they've got a story.
I'm just voting V3. That's all I know.
Yeah,
what I'm
me
doing.
too.
I'm like,
I think I'm really hyped for them.
And they've already beaten Sengoku in decisive fashion, doing lane swaps and all kinds of wild stuff. I'm like, all right, Boogie, it's your time to shine. It's your time to shine. But we will find out if it is indeed V3 and Boogie's time to shine, or are we gonna have the reigning champions back on the throne? Will Sengoku have their own personal little redemption arc? We'll find out soon enough in 2 weeks. We'll see you there soon. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. Sayonara. And I'm just flapping here. Bye.
Bye.